Hello and welcome to. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Just making sure it's streaming. Yeah, hello. Welcome to another Monday night stream. Um, Working hard on chapter 20. That's what I'm going to be doing tonight. And I'm going to get straight on with it. This is the last scene of the chapter. Not the last scene to do, but the last scene of it. Still got the cantina stuff to finish off. It's kind of in progress, so I'm not doing it from the beginning, but there'll see still more to do with it as well. I've just finished off doing a lot of the Torve stuff. As you can see, Han is not looking quite right just yet. And as last week, it's on quick mode, so just to make it easier for me to work on without my computer struggling. So the actual finished scene will look a lot better than this once it's all rendered nicely. But for now, quick mode just to make it easier on my system. And when it's easier on my system, then it's easier for me to actually do it because I'm not waiting for things to be processed so much. So yeah, I'm going to get straight on with it. I'm going to work on Han next. He needs some repositioning. His head looks in unusual directions, even though I did the motion capture and I'm not quite as flexible as his character model. It's just one of those realities of motion capture. It does things that are not quite expected. So, I hope everyone is doing well. And yeah, so I've selected Han. Get the beginning of his. This beginning bit's fine because we're actually going to cut in here with them walking into the room, into the lounge. He's still supposed to be holding some chips from the cantina, so we're going to put some in his hand. Henry's time. So the Falcon interior is one I found. I do not remember where I found it, but it's a fan-made one that I found somewhere to download. It was I've been using it for a while, so it's about 2 years, so I can't remember where I downloaded it from, I'm afraid. But I'm sure if you Google it, you can find one. For the characters, I actually created them myself using iClone's character creator and the headshot plugin to make them look like the people they're meant to be for Han and Lando, whereas Torve being an original character, I mean original as in he's not actually in the films, so his appearance is a bit more vague. I didn't use the headshot plugin to recreate someone. I just looked at some references from the comics and used that as a basis, but I didn't use there's no real person behind it. So I hope that answers your question, and I'm glad you enjoy my videos so much. For the other assets from the other videos, let's see. Lots of ship models I download from sites. My 3D modeling ability isn't that great, so if it already exists in a good model, then I'll prefer to use that. And when I say good model, I mean it needs to be reasonably detailed, but at the same time not so poly heavy that my system or iClone can't handle it, because that it can go too far, and that happens too. And the more complex the model is, the longer it takes to render, obviously. So Han is carrying a stack of chips, so I'm just going to use this cylinder. I'll texture it later, I'm not going to worry about it too much now, but just to give him something to hold, so when I'm correcting his animation glitches, I can factor in this. Yeah. So I think that should be about the right size for a stack of chips. Maybe make it a bit taller here. Some better winnings than that, I think. Hoppy, hello and welcome. It's good to see you. Just placing the chips in his hand, and then we'll close his fingers around it. Hoppy, I see all. Like the eye of Sauron. Arian, hello, welcome. No, Arlen, sorry. That's what I get for glancing rather than actually reading names properly. I do apologise. Arlen, welcome. Right, so we'll call this Sabak chips, so I remember what it is. We'll attach it to his hand. There we go. So now that when his arm moves, the chips will go with it. I may resize it later, it depends on what's needed, but for now that works. I need select hand again. Edit motion there. I don't think this window pops up, but it's kind of got a rough human shape with all the points of the character model, so shoulders, elbows, hands, and so on, and you can use them to select joints and then move them for animation. I'm just going to have a quick drink of water. Excuse me. So I'm not going to fix this first moment because we're going to cut to about there. I'm afraid I don't know anything about Blender, but the character creator, I believe, has export options for Blender. So if you wanted to check out the iClone character creator, it might be worth. I believe there's a free trial version of it, so you can check it out. You can buy the character creator separately without having to buy iClone if you don't need iClone. I did see your question before you retracted it, and I'm going to answer it. Content packs for the character creator. And some of them are free and some of them are not. Like Hans' jacket was a biker jacket that came free as a sample piece of clothing with it, and then I edited the texture to make the sleeves transparent so that his shirt sleeves would show up. But yeah, character creator works very much like a character creator screen in a video game. So if you ever played a video game that lets you do that, like all the Sims, where you can change the face shape, and hair color, and you just drag clothes from the content screen onto the character. It works like that. If you check out some of my previous streams, we've created characters before, So it might be worth checking that out. Hoppy, that was terrible. And I'm not surprised. So but yeah, don't make humans in a blender. Alan, I watched the trailer many times. I'm really excited for it. Rogue One is probably my favourite of the Disney released films, and because it's the same people who made the film who are working on this series, it's got the same tone and atmosphere. I'm really looking forward to see what they do with it. And visually, it's also very impressive and inspiring. So we'll see what happens. I think my biggest complaint is that they pushed it back 3 weeks. Was it 4? I don't know. I was really looking forward to it in the end of this month, but we have a bit longer to wait. Hoppy, because they haven't been textured yet. I haven't got the. I have to make a chip texture, but I'm not going to do that on stream. Lost Fires, hello, welcome. Where was I? Oh yeah. We are going to change the direction that Han is looking, so he's slightly looking that way as he comes around, and he's looking at Torve. Now I do want to say that I've turned the sound off, so you won't be able to hear the conversation, because we have a special guest voice actor playing Torve, and I don't want to reveal who he is yet. And some of you might recognise his voice if I let you hear it. So there's going to be no sound from the scene, and I'm just going to double check to make sure I do actually have the sound turned off. Actually, I'm going to turn the volume off there just to be doubly sure. But yeah, we recorded with him last night, and he's the last voice we needed for chapter 20. I know a lot of people are very impatient for chapter 20 because it's been a while since 19 was released, but I was waiting for him, and he's a busy man. But I'll say he's not Mark Hamill or anyone that is involved officially with Star Wars. But I was very pleased that he was willing to be part of this project, just for a sort of a cameo role. Saw Han's leg glitch there, but that's fine because we won't be looking at him then. It's not Tim Allen either. I wonder if I can think of a good clue to give that makes you think about it without revealing exactly who he is, I will mention it in chat, but I have to come up with something. But even if you do guess, I'm still not going to verify who it is. But I will say that it's not anyone officially involved with Star Wars, as far as I know. Of course, if he was officially involved with Star Wars, he probably wouldn't have agreed to do this, because he probably would be in his contract. So, with Lucasfilm. So, what do you think of the Unreal Engine or Quixel Bridge? Unreal is very impressive. I have considered using it, but I quite like using iClone and NVIDIA Omniverse. I know that iClone can also export to Unreal, but I've kind of tinkered around with it, but NVIDIA Omniverse is suits me better, and it looks very impressive. Arlen, thank you for sharing the project with Hello Greedo. I hope he covers the series. Simon, hello, and hello Freya. You missed the tease about the Torve voice actor. Biggest question, have they ever been involved with Star Wars content? Sort of, but it didn't get used. Is the only answer I can give to that, because it's not really my story to tell. Takada, hello. Thank you for coming by, and I'm glad you appreciate my work. As you can see, hard at work on chapter 20. Get a Robo. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name. What's the new cut of my film, if you don't mind? Go for it. I'm always interested in encouraging creative people and filmmakers. Oh, and we're talking about the Unreal Engine. Yeah, Unreal Engine is very impressive. I don't know what the Quixel and Quixel Bridge is. I've not heard of that one before, so I can't comment on that. Takada, thank you so much for your support there. That's very generous of you. I do appreciate it. Hoppy, it's not him either. You'll just have to wait and see for the credits for this chapter when it's finished. Glitch Knitter, hello and welcome. For those who are watching, Glitch Knitter is the voice of Winter in the series. She is in this chapter. I've already done her scene though. We recorded dialogue quite recently, and it was good to have her back in the series. Unfortunately, Winter doesn't show up so much in the first book. Takada, who is the voice actor for? It's the voice actor for Torve, who is sitting here, which is why I've got the sound off, so you can't hear who he is, because it's going to be a surprise when the chapter's released. I don't want anyone to recognise who he is. Hoppy, as before, quick mode, so all the textures are off with hair. But I'm glad you do like the blonde hair. I'm sure there will be more Winter. I think it's in the third book, so it'll be a while before we get to it. But there is when Winter and Mara Jade meet up, and Winter recognises who she is. That's going to be fun. It's been a while since I've read the third book, so I'll have to get to that at some point. Quixel Bridge is 16k free assets to use. Oh, that sounds interesting. You know, I'm going to make a note of that, so I can have a look after the stream. Put that down there. Thank you for that. I don't know if it'll be compatible with iClone or not, but it'd be worth having a look. Takada, no, haven't actually been asked that for a while actually. So do you work off a screenplay or what's your process? This is based on the book Heir to the Empire. So basically I read each chapter of the book and then turn it into a script. I spend a lot of time thinking about what is going to work directly from the chapter in video form, what needs to change, and what won't work at all. To give an example, in the very first chapter of the book, it starts off with Captain Pelion on the bridge of the Chimera, thinking about the state of the Empire and not being too impressed by the very young officers on the bridge. I decided to cut that scene entirely because the only way to really make that work would be internal monologue with him thinking, which isn't really in the style of Star Wars. Or I could have him talking to himself, which is not what a military captain is going to do, because it would completely demoralize his crew to see him talking to himself and also openly criticizing them. So I decided, for the sake of simplicity, just to cut that and get straight on to Pelion going to meet Thrawn. And there's a couple of scenes where I've done things like that, but I try to keep it as close to the book as possible. Now, as you see here, there's a amusing little glitch where Han sinks into the seat. So let's see. We want I do appreciate the research. As long as it is FBX or OBJ files, that should be fine. It's an amusing glitch, but for taking the scene seriously, we're going to fix it, which is quite easy. So I have sat on seats that I sink in like that, and it can be surprisingly comfortable, but very hard to get out of. I also don't really feel like it's accurate for the Falcon. So the first thing I do is move so when he sits down he's more lined up and not halfway off it. That will do. And then next thing to do is to fix the actual pose so that he's not sunk in, so that brings him up to the right level. I know his legs going through it, but when the camera's up here you're not going to see that, so you can get away with things like that. I mean, you guys will know that his leg's still in there, but no one else watching will. Right, so he's sat down. Let's see. set a key there. Hoppy, yep, that's true. He has no undies. The things you learn watching the behind the scenes of how to make character models work. But we're going to move his hand down to his leg, so it's not just floating in the air. See the chips that are not quite right there, but I'll go back to those later. How many hours tend to go into a chapter? It depends on how complex the chapter is. There's also a lot of render time, which is basically me leaving it running for many, many hours. I don't know how long this scene is going to take to render. There's a cantina scene, which is also a big part of this chapter. I think that's going to take a while. Where's the right arm? Nope. It was in the right place. What was it? Yeah. So, new handy feature for iClone 8. Oh, froze for a moment. You know what? I'm going to save. When you get a glitch like that, you know it's time to save, just in case it crashes. Makes the story more exciting. For someone who knows nothing about this kind of design, what does rendering do? So rendering is when you take what you're seeing here, which is the rough version of it, and turning it into a proper video file, or what I like to do is an image sequence. So that an image sequence is every single frame of video as a separate image. I prefer that because you get the highest quality. But it means you can then do the video editing and release it on YouTube. I mean, what you're seeing here in the software, I couldn't put that directly onto YouTube. So I'm going to take his hand and I'm going to attach it to his leg so that it stays there, in theory. But also does weird things like that sometimes. But that is also easy to fix, he says. Let's have a look. Now there will come a moment, which I think was there. Usually when the elbow starts twitching like that, it's a sign that his arm's moving. Because I don't remember the exact movement. I know I did perform this all last night. But, yeah, let's release his arm, see what happens. Okay. Where was the release? Robotic Pope, hello and welcome. Set a key there. And leans back because I've changed his position a bit. It's he's not quite right, so we're going to fix that. We'll get his, start with his head lined up with his shoulders. I've stopped using the hand motion sensors when I do motion capture because it's just too glitchy. So at the moment his hands don't really do anything. I prefer to come back and do that hand animation last. I'm just going to have another quick drink of water. It is very warm here, and my USB fan has stopped working. Excuse me. Robotic Pope, what I've done is I'm using quick mode, which puts everything at a lower detail setting, and it doesn't load all the textures properly because it makes it easier for me to animate because it's less of a strain on my system, which means things like hands, hair are the wrong color. But when it's actually rendered properly, it will all be everything will be the correct color. But it's just here that it isn't. There we go. So let's attach the elbow to the ship. See how this looks. Well, that looks painful. I guess I have to fix that. Henry Stein, thank you for looking into that for me. I don't know if this would count as commercial work or not. And it's a fan film, so it's not like I'm selling it. Alright, let's try moving his arm there. Alright, let's try that again. With that's actually probably the best place to attach his elbow. That's the wrong button. Yeah, it's looking better. Yeah, so it might work. I mean, I'm not selling this because if I tried to, I'm sure the lawyers would be knocking on the door, or a very angry mouse. I never saw the Cloverfield movie in space, so I saw the first two, and then I know the third one happened. Oh. You know, it's been so long since I read The Crystal Star. I did not remember that scene at all. Right, he's going to start leaning forward here, so I'm going to release his elbow. Also, that looks not the most comfortable position to be in, but I will fix that in a moment. I know Should probably read it again at some point. Yeah, Disney. If it's got Star Wars on it, Disney owns it. There goes green. Now I'm kind of curious what Leia with green hair would look like. I'll have to try that out with the character creator. What colour did Chewie go? Well, sooner or later, this crystal star needs to be adapted too. I don't actually know where my copy is. Yeah, I know you've claimed Waru for quite some time. Alright, so just setting a key there. The window I'm using doesn't show up on this stream with the motion layer, so you can't actually see what the controls I'm using, which is a little bit frustrating because it would, when I see I'm clicking on this thing or whatever, you can't actually see it. So, right. Let's see. I don't remember doing this. I mean, I remember leaning forward, but I don't know why Han's hand is like that, because this is the reset default. At least it should be. Zoom out. Yep. Okay, well, what was I intending? I know this audiobook Thrawn Trilogy in German. The original audiobooks for Thrawn Trilogy that were released, the abridged ones, also had, the English ones, also had voices from the movies. Because Dennis Lawson read Heir to the Empire, who's Wedge, and Anthony Daniels read the other two. Of course, anytime 3PO showed up in the other two, he'd put the voice on. Dennis Lawson didn't necessarily do any specific character voices, but he did have a good voice to listen to. It's a shame he only did the first book and not all of them. Right, I think Han's shoulders need to come down a little bit. Anthony Daniels is not the guest voice actor. As before, it's not someone who is involved with Star Wars, to the best of my knowledge. I think this is what I was intending. So that would rule out Dennis Lawson too, just in case that's going to be the next guess. No, it's not. Okay, it's not anyone involved with. Actually, I need to think about this. Don't think he was involved in an official Star Trek thing. But I don't want to say no. I'll say it's not Jonathan Frakes though. Oh, all the characters are different speakers, not one. Ah, that's it. That would be interesting. They don't, as far as I know, they didn't release an English version of Heir to the Empire like that. If they had, I would have definitely bought that and listened to it, probably until the tapes were out. I'm surprised my Heir to the Empire tapes didn't. Actually, when you think about it, Chewbacca is voiced by the same person who created the sound effects for Chewie. I guess he's played by himself, because I'm using the sound effects of Chewie growling from. They're the same ones that were used in the films, so Chewie is played by himself. There we go. Okay, what happened here? Actually, right, I did do the same for R2 as well. I'm going to release there. That's fine. See, one thing I'm going to do is to go back to... Yeah. I want to turn Han's head a little bit. Because he's supposed to be talking to Torve, but he's kind of looking off in the distance, so... Yeah, I think that works. Yep, I think Han is done for now. I know that the hands haven't been done, but that's okay. That's something I'll come back to later. Better save. And then we'll move on to Lando. Lando should be a lot easier to do because he's a bit more stationary. So if I select Lando, then we'll go back to the beginning of the timeline. Okay. Apparently I didn't resize the chips at the beginning of the timeline, so they're massive there. Let's quickly change that. Okay, back to Lando. I think actually Lando should be pretty much alright. That looks painful. Yeah. Oh, that's right, because I did... Most of Lando is just standing here with his arms crossed. So... you can get some angles like that where it looks great. I've seen his adjustments to his fingers, but I can do that later. Yeah. So I'm just watching it and then not talking. It's weird not hearing their voices, but yeah, I'm not going to turn those back on. I think I'm really happy with the way that... Obviously, there's still more work to do. The facial animation, the hand animation, and the chips, and probably a few other bits and pieces here and there. But yeah, I'm pleased with how well this is coming along. Also, I need to put cameras in. Which I'll do as well at some point. I don't think I'm going to do any more tonight though. I'm just going to watch through the scene. I know you can't hear it, but soon you will be able to when it's all finished and rendered. There's a few places here and there that still needs a little bit of tidying up, or just careful or clever camera work to hide the bits that need cleaning up, so you, they're not even visible. Yeah, it's just looking good. I can't wait to see it all rendered properly. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to save again. And I think this is a good point to end the stream. It's been going for nearly an hour, so it's about the usual amount of time. So thank you everyone for coming. Takada Seiko, thank you so much for the super chat. Glitch Knitter, I think it sounds like you need to read the book again, and then you'll find out. And knowing your reading speed, I'm sure that won't take you very long. Purple eyeshadow. Okay, that's good to know. I think that's a yes. Alan, thank you so much for that. I hope you found it interesting. Henristein, thank you so much for checking out doing the research on that content. I hope you found the answers to your questions helpful. Check out iClone. I believe there are free trial versions of it and Character Creator. I know that they've recently updated to big new releases, so I think there's trial versions of both of those. I'm not sure if they're in place yet. If they're not, they probably will do soon, because they are pretty good at. So yeah, check out the website. It's on realillusion.com. But I don't know what book you bought us, so I'm going to encourage the Crystal Star. Anyway, have a good evening, or night, or morning, as those of you who are past midnight, like I am. See you all. Oh, is there a schedule for your streams? I stream every Monday at the same time, unless there's a problem, like 2 weeks ago when there was a huge heat wave and I didn't feel like sitting at the computer in the heat. But yeah, every Monday I usually stream for about an hour. So I should be here next week. So take care. See you all next time, and may the Thrawn be with you. Yep, see you soon too.